Welcome to Oddball. Charlotte Wilder here. Amin Elhassan there laughing at our intro music as always. We're both in Miami.
Yes.
Where they're not playing basketball right now.
No.
I mean, they were this time last year.
Yes. But this is a new year.
This is a new year, new us.
New us, new thing. And you know what the thing that's happening?
What's the thing?
The thing that's happening is that there was no basketball last night, Charlotte.
How did that feel?
A little empty, to be honest.
I agree. I was excited at first because I was like, oh man, I can go to bed whenever. It's a night off. And then I was sitting there and I'd ordered food and I was like, well, what the heck do I watch? I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, it would be a lot easier if there were a basketball game on.
You know what? I couldn't even find anything on TV. I just was on my phone, just thumbing away.
Sad.
Yeah.
I started watching Bridgerton.
Oh.
Anyway, the Wolves, basketball is back tonight. The Wolves face the Mavs. Obviously, Dallas is up 3-1.
Yes, they are.
And that's wild. I mean, I think we both thought that it was going to end. I'm glad it didn't. In retrospect, you wanted it to end.
I should say I hoped it ended. I didn't think it was going to end.
Okay.
Or, I mean, I didn't think anything. I was open for either possibility.
Right.
But I was hoping.
Well, in NBA history, you know this, teams that go up 3-0 are 155-0 in the series. Last year, there was a chance that the Celtics could break that. Obviously, they didn't. Left a hole in my heart, which recently was patched up a little bit when the Celtics got past the Eastern Conference Finals. And 4 teams down 0-3 have done what the Celtics did and forced a Game 7. Does Minnesota have it in them?
So as luck would have it, I had 2 conversations yesterday with 2 people who have some experience in this realm. One of them is Antonio Daniels, who won a championship with the Spurs in '99, but then was on the Portland Trailblazers team. That was the first. The first year they went to 7 games in the first round.
Oh wow!
They went down 0-3, and then they tied it up and went to a Game 7, and actually led going into the fourth quarter of Game 7.
Oh my God!
So on the road, mind you. So I talked to him and I said, "Well, how'd you guys stay with it?" And he said, "Our leaders, Rasheed Wallace and Damon Stoudemire, they were so confident and they were so loose that it helped us all remain confident and loose." And then they were playing the Mavericks, and Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash went off in the fourth quarter, and that's how that ended. And that's basketball because you have zero margin of error, really. So part of it is having a leader or leaders who are loose, and I think Minnesota has that in Anthony Edwards. The other part of it, I talked to Channing Frye yesterday. Now, Channing hasn't come back from 3-0 down, but he has come back from 3-1 down in the finals.
Yep.
Well, technically, this is a 3-1 series.
True.
Right? Like, I mean, it's not like we have to go retro. We can just start right here and say, how many teams have come back from 3-1? Well, that's happened quite a few times. Well, here we are. And so Channing talked about just the mentality of we can't make mistakes. Mm-hmm. Like he felt like in Cleveland, in that series, they had made some mistakes and they were playing against an opponent, the Warriors, that were uncommonly deadly. When you made mistakes, they made you pay every single time.
Right.
And so they knew, hey, we haven't locked in to the level that we need to lock in. Mm-hmm. And so they did that, and obviously the rest is history. So I feel like, based on that, I feel confident because, not confident, but I feel like, it's definitely doable because Anthony Edwards and all that. But then the part where, like, we can't make mistakes, I don't know so much. I don't know.
Well, I do feel that they limited, Karl Anthony Towns made a big mistake when he fouled out last game, but they did fix a lot of the things they were doing wrong. Granted, Luka and Kyrie shot very poorly, both of them, on the night. Interesting, though, Dallas is still going to be, he's going to play, Derek Lively.
He's questionable. He might play, and that's kind of shocking to me.
Well, they're saying he has a neck sprain.
Neck sprain, my ass.
Why your ass?
Because I saw the video, man. Like, you don't get hit in the head like that with that kind of force from that kind of joint, right? The knee, right? It's the knees and elbows, right? Like, it's an MMA thing. They grab you by the head and they knee you, right? By a 7-foot, 260-pound plus man.
Karl Anthony Towns.
Moving with force.
Yeah.
It wasn't just kind of like he nudged him. He's rushing in to grab a rebound.
Yeah.
Boom, to the back of the head. You're telling me everything's fine. Just a little sore neck.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. If his head were that strong, I think Towns would be on the injury report too for a sore knee.
It's true.
I don't know. Like, obviously our sport doesn't have the same kind of track record as football with concussions and concussion protocol.
Right.
You could tell me, hey, he was concussed, a little concussed, but he's over it now. I'd believe that a whole lot more than, nope, nothing wrong.
Yeah.
His brain's fine.
Especially because he was sort of confused on the floor after their
You know what it reminds me of, Charlotte?
What?
Remember when Tua got hit?
Yes.
And he started doing gang signs, and they were like, oh, but he was fine on the plane. He's not concussed. I'm like, guys, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's some of these things you can't get past us.
Right. I know. Well, we'll see how that impacts Dallas. We'll see if he plays and if he is able to play, how he's able to play. But last game, fresh off being declared the most talented backcourt in NBA history, Luka and Kyrie shot. It was Kyrie's worst shooting game of the series in Game 4, and Jaden McDaniels guarded him. They made that change, the Wolves, and McDaniels seemed to think that Minnie figured something out. Let's take a look at this.
After game 1, we could win, or in game 2, we would win. I'll say the only game they really beat us was the last game. Like, the rest of them were close, and it was like our mistakes that let us lose.
But does getting over the hump help you guys?
Oh, yeah. We could probably run off 3 more now.
I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
Their mistakes are the reason why they lost 3 games in a row.
That's what you were just saying.
Yeah, but it's just like, I don't have the confidence in them to not make those mistakes.
Yeah.
Because even the game that, he said, oh, the only game they beat us was game 3. I would say the only game where you guys overcame your mistakes was game 4, and you didn't really not make the mistakes.
Right.
You made all the mistakes. It's just they didn't capitalize.
You got lucky in making those mistakes.
You got lucky that you could make those mistakes and still win. Right. Now, Kyrie and Luka shot poorly. I'm sure McDaniels will say, well, that wasn't an accident. We made them shoot poorly.
Right.
But
Kyle Anderson was on Luka.
Whatever defensive adjustments you want to talk about that they did, you can take credit, Jaden McDaniels, in making that happen. The thing that I would ask is, in the history of our game, have you ever seen not one, but 2 guys that talented get locked up for 4 straight games?
No.
That's the part, right? Like, if everything else was the same, and look, if ifs were a split, we'd all get up, right? That's the saying, right? But I often say this one, like Tu Channing Frye have said this. For them to win Game 7, for them to win that series, they needed Andrew Bogut to get hurt, Andre Iguodala to get hurt. They needed Draymond Green to get suspended a game. They needed Steph Curry to have re-aggravated an injury early in the playoffs. Then they needed LeBron James to make the greatest defensive play in finals history. They needed Kyrie Irving to hit one of the greatest shots in finals history. They needed the Warriors to play the only 3 guys that night with a negative plus minus in the 4th quarter.
Yep.
And finally, they needed Kevin Love to get maxed up with Steph Curry one-on-one and to get a stop. Oh, and also they needed Harrison Barnes to be just...
That's a long list of things.
A lot of things. But that's basketball.
Yep.
We do what we can, and we hope those other things work out. And if they do, we end up with the greatest comeback in finals history. And that's what they did. There's no asterisk. There's no caveat there. But if I change any one of those things, they don't win.
Yeah.
Right? And that was kind of like right when they signed Kevin Durant, and people were like, well, I think it could still be tough. Like, it won't be tough because I just listed all the things it took for the Cavs to win. And I just replaced Harrison Barnes with Kevin Durant. It's a wrap. And I think they won 1 game in the next 2 finals matchups with them. So similarly, here, Jaden McDaniels, you needed a lot of stuff to happen. How realistic is it for that to happen again and again and again in order for you to win that series?
And I think what Minnesota, every single time, I think what the Wolves want to prove is that they can they can make those things happen. They can be the force that makes Dallas make mistakes. I think it's way too early to say that that's possible based on the last 4 games, but we'll see what happens. Right. I think it would be exciting. It would be fun to have a little bit of excitement in the Western Conference.
I mean, it's been exciting. These 4 games have been exciting, right?
Yeah, and a little bit of like, oh, what's going to happen?
Yeah, some uncertainty. All right.
Yeah. In terms of the Timberwolves, though, if they do blow this, which history says they probably will,
right?
Who is going to get blamed? Because I have a personal favorite. Obviously there'll be stuff about Towns. He's 7-1 in the playoffs. The team, is 7-1 in the playoffs when he scores more than 18. But he's been shooting 23% from 3 this series. Gobert hasn't really looked like the defensive player of the year except for game 4. But my favorite person to blame for this would be Alex Rodriguez.
Oh, wow.
Along with Mark Laurie, his minority business partner in owning this team, has been courtside. We didn't talk about this. I mean, he looked wild game 4. He was wearing a dark suit. He looked like he came from like a finance, like Wall Street.
Yeah.
And he was losing his mind, and he's caused a lot of noise around the team.
He's a very look at me Louie guy
He
on the
is.
sidelines of games.
It might be his fault if maybe he's
The
distracting
distraction,
him.
yeah. No, it's funny in sports we always go to like, is this a distraction? And no one's asked that question. Is it a distraction? I asked John Krasinski of The Athletic off the record. John. I said, is it a distraction? He said the players don't know anything. They don't know and they don't care. So it's not a distraction.
Okay.
But I'm with you in blaming A-Rod. That's a fun place
That's
to go.
a fun person to blame.
And Lord knows, we have, much like there's a lot of history that shows that the Wolves aren't going to come back from 3-0. A lot of history shows if you blame A-Rod, no one's really going to fight you on that. Everyone's
Yeah.
Like, it sounds
People will
about
be
right.
like, oh, yeah, you're right.
But I think the reality is,
Yeah.
it's going to be Towns and Gobert who get it.
Yeah.
Towns and
Not
Gobert.
Ant, Ant not shooting. I mean, he didn't have like the superhero games we're used to him in the first 3.
No, because everyone likes Ant. He's still at that stage where everybody likes him. And so the failings, even if he's attached to them, they're going to be described differently. Like, well, this is a learning experience for him. And he needed this. He needed this to go. Vinny Goodwill was right. You needed to go through this. For Towns and Gobert, you stupid fucks. It's all your fault. Hey, dumbass, stop jumping for every pump fake. And you, stop posting up when Anthony Edwards is on ISO. Get the hell out the lane. That's what everyone's going to say.
I mean, yeah, that feels right. Ant would probably say that to Kat. He'd be like, it's your fault, ass. You fouled out again.
No, Ant's too nice. He's too
I know.
nice.
I'm kidding. Ant's lovely.
But that's the evolution. He's got to learn. Sometimes, in the words of Dalton in Roadhouse, sometimes there's a time to be not nice, and when that time comes, I'm going to be not nice, and that's what he needs to learn.
Maybe, I mean, he's been explicit about saying to
But it's in a
Kat.
jokey kind of
I know, he's
fun.
so cute. He's so like,
Yeah, come on, man. You got to stop. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, hey, motherfucker, stop fouling.
Okay. Yes. All right. Ant, there's a note for you. I do admire, honestly, Ant, how he shows up to every game. Like, they're down 3. They could go home. He shows up. He's joking around. He's loose, warming up. Like, that is a gift. I don't think people understand how rare that is in a high-pressure situation to have a leader like that, which is why I think they do have a bit of a chance.
Well, and the interesting thing is also it's a very thin line, because on the one side you could be like, I'm loose, and on the other side like, he's not taking it seriously, and so he manages
He's
to walk
walking
that line.
Totally. All right. Well, we got to talk about the Celtics because if this ends, because I'm here, but also because if this ends tonight, the Mavs are facing the Celtics. And Kristaps has been hurt. He might return for game 1. I just read the thing, and you're supposed to be saying this.
Well, he said it. He tweeted it. The problem is he tweeted it in Latvian, and I'm not so sure. I'm positive my Latvian is that strong. So we just kind of have to trust Google AI translation. Now, the problem is Google AI has not had the best of weeks.
No.
Right? Like, it's just, there's a lot of stuff out there where, like, it's just, hey, you walk off a cliff, how long will you stay, like, upright before you fall? And they're like, yeah, and as long as you don't look down, you're fine. Wile E. Coyote rules.
Just like the internet.
The translation, though, says, as you can see on the screen right there, that he's going to come back for game 1. See you in the finals.
I have a theory about why he tweeted this.
Because he thought no one was going to know?
No. I think he tweeted it in Latvian so that if he is not back soon, he can say Google Translate was wrong.
Yeah.
I actually didn't say that. Yeah. And isn't there can't you edit your tweets now that he could go back?
Sure. But I'll say he edited it. But I think we have maybe algorithm, excuse me. Algorithm, different.
Algorithm.
Different person.
Yeah.
Different person. But do you think he's friends with the Google Translate AI? Do the AIs get along? Oh, there he is right there with eyes.
Oh, hey, Al. It's been a minute. Yeah, I think that Algorithm, our basketball AI robot co-host, I think he's friends with Google AI, but I also think that he's been clowning on Google AI a lot because he's like, you just got owned by a bunch of people on the internet. Our Al is like savvier than that.
Yeah. Yeah, is he? No, I don't know. He's ours. So.
He goes off on rants a lot of the time that sound oddly like our producer Gabe, but
how much would Shaq average in today's NBA?
There's no way of knowing.
Well, I'm sure algorithm could figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not confident, by the way, that Porzingis in the finals is necessarily like, oh, that's it. Signed, sealed, delivered.
Like that he looks good, that he's the answer? Because he's been out for so long?
And like, even though I think he's better at moving, defending in space than Rudy Gobert is, he's still not exactly like the next coming of, Dennis Rodman or anything.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference, he can shoot where Rudy can't.
Yes, offensively, they'll be better.
So, but, you're right. Well,
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I guess we'll see. We'll see how Derek Lively looks if he plays. I'm sure the long rest helps both of those guys, and we're all looking forward to it if the Mavs get the job done.
All right. Well, stick around. We've got some fun Clipper stuff coming at you. Welcome back to Oddball. I know I said we were going to talk about the Clippers, but this is actually a broader conversation. This is about this is what we're calling the LA coaching corner. Because Chris Hayes yesterday on Dan Patrick said that it's pretty much a done deal that JJ Redick will be coaching the Lakers. What's going on here? I feel like that happened quickly.
No, it didn't.
No?
Quickly? Or what?
It
Or that
was like all of a
relationship?
sudden. Well, no, it's like all of a sudden this is out there and then it's happening. It seems like.
I feel like it's been weeks. It's been weeks. It's been weeks since they've been talking about hey, do you think JJ Redick could be the actual coach? I don't know. I feel conflicted here because on the one hand, obviously, most of the time when you're a first time coach, you get a shitty hand, right? Like look at Steven Silas, where he got in Houston. He thought he was getting to coach Harden and Westbrook. Instead, he's coaching a bunch of kids. Look at Jamal Mosley down in Orlando. I know they're good now, but when he got there, they weren't necessarily good.
Yeah.
That's typically the path of a first-time coach. And in this case, he's getting at least two really talented guys, two All-NBA players, LeBron and Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
The flip side is you're getting LeBron and Anthony Davis, and specifically LeBron. And that means the expectations are outsized, and unrealistic. And the blame will 100% fall on you regardless of whether or not it was your decision.
Right.
And so, it's hard enough to be a first-time head coach in the NBA. There's a lot of learning on the job. You can be the smartest X's and O's guy. You could be the smartest interpersonal guy, and I think JJ is great at both of those things.
Yeah.
But there are just things you're going to have to make mistakes and learn from, like anything else. No one's perfect at this first go-round.
Right.
And when you're coaching in a situation with that kind of scrutiny, if this is to be the case, then I think he runs the risk of getting blamed for stuff that sometimes it will be his fault because of the learning curve. But a lot of times it's not going to be his fault. It's going to be roster construction. It's going to be player buy-in on certain things, player ability to execute certain things.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's is it do I get unfairly blamed for this, and where does that leave my career if I get the ultimate blame, which is you're out of here?
Right. I do think. I mean, the stakes could not be higher.
Yeah.
It's LeBron. He's 40. He will be 40. It's sort of championship or bust, especially with AD.
And with a roster, even though I started by saying those are two really good players to start with, it's this is hardly
right.
We can play the same game I played a year ago and say, let's start naming teams in the West. And by the time you're done naming, you'll figure out the Lakers are pretty much like a 7 seed.
Right. But I think that, first of all, these are sort of unheard of high stakes for a first-time head coach. I think, yeah. I mean, it's up there. I'm not the basketball historian you are. Yeah, okay.
I mean, maybe he didn't have championship or bust when he walked in.
I guess just the name LeBron adds a weight to this that cannot be overstated. And so I think on some level it's really brave of JJ to do, I think it's a courageous, I do. I
Enter
think
the breach.
Yeah, go for it. And of all guys out there who could do it, I think JJ has the confidence and the belief in himself that could make other people believe in going on this journey with him. And LeBron wants him.
Yep. So that's the other part about this, right? You have to have kind of a level of cocky courage to do this job, to do it well, because you can't do it scared, right?
Right.
And so JJ has always been that guy, whether it's on a basketball court or behind a microphone or now perhaps with a clipboard in his hands. But the other thing I kind of warn against is the Lakers, more than any other organization, are known for not they bail.
Yep.
They bailed on Phil Jackson.
Yep.
They bailed on Mike D'Antoni and Mike Brown.
Yeah.
We're both pretty good coaches everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he takes a job, best of luck to him. But
Well, speaking of Ty Lue with the Clippers, he got
Yep.
outed in Cleveland.
70 million of them things.
Yeah, so they said they want to keep Paul George and James Harden. They're running this back. Part of me, I'm like, I think the Clippers are not totally looking at this realistically because all these guys were old this year and they're going to be older next year, and health was a big issue. They also had a great run in there. So if they stay healthy, are the Clippers delusional, or is there...
Well, what are they delusional about? Like, if the delusions are about basketball, I would say no, they're not. Like, the proof is in the pudding. They're 97 and 47 over the last how many years where PG and Kawhi played for Ty Lue, right? Mm-hmm. They unequivocally are a great basketball team. Even this year with adding James Harden and like, is there enough, Russell Westbrook off the bench? It worked. When they were all healthy, it worked. It fell apart when their best player got hurt, Kawhi Leonard. And that's the part where there might be some delusion. Like, can we really honestly say year 5, year 6 of this experiment, this is the year where he's not going to get hurt and he's going to stay healthy? Like, it just sounds a little unrealistic. Also, we should mention, as we talked about yesterday with Keith Pompey's report in the Philadelphia Inquirer, Philly's going to make a run at PG. So we don't even know if he's coming back because Philly has the wherewithal to just go out and sign him straight up.
Good for Ty Lue. Yeah. Good for Ty Lue. Get that money. We have to talk about Clipped.
Oh, yeah.
Because if the real life Clippers are not enough, we have a TV show called Clipped, and it's a limited series about the end of Donald Sterling's Clippers era. Ed O'Neill is Donald Sterling. Lawrence
Al Bundy.
Yeah. Yep. Lawrence Fishburne is Doc Rivers.
Styles.
Does Doc have anything to say about this?
Yeah, it's funny because when they told me I was getting played by Lawrence Fishburne, I felt very complimented. I said, wow, the Lawrence Fishburne. He's been in Apocalypse Now, and he played Bumpy Johnson in Hoodlum and a lot of my favorite movies. But then I kind of saw like Lawrence didn't really take the role that seriously in terms of like conditioning. Like, I feel like I'm a pretty slim trim guy. I'm on the golf links every day, working it out. And
you're worried he's not going to look as good?
Well, I mean, I've just watched trailers, but I mean, Lawrence.
Do you think he'll do your voice as well as Amin Elhassan, the co-host of Oddball?
Probably not, but I'm more concerned that he didn't do the treadmill as well as Amin Elhassan.
All right. Thanks, Doc.
Okay.
Clipped is a godsend for daily NBA
chunky.
shows like us that will need
Zion,
content.
or is he playing me?
We will need content in the next few weeks, so we're going to be watching this. In other news, as important as a new series Clipped, Victor Wembanyama, clapped back, if the kids are still saying that, at a troll on Instagram who in 2020 posted under a picture of Wembanyama, he's not going to do that in the NBA. Speaking because Victor was, look what a baby he looks.
12.
He's like 2 years old. He was balling out in the French leagues, and someone said he's not going to do that in the pros. Victor, 2 days ago, commented on it and said, why not?
That's so goddamn lame.
If he had said why not at the time,
it would be the coolest shit ever.
It would be amazing, and then take a picture and repost it.
Remember
and say,
this?
Look how confident I was.
I told y'all
as a baby.
But that, you know what that tells me? He saw it at the time. And like, what if they are right?
And he was waiting.
That's a coward.
Do you think he had a reminder on his phone?
Absolutely. You're in Rookie of the Year. Go back to that IG post. Let them know. This is the most French thing he could have ever done.
Why is it French?
Because it's cowardly.
Are the French cowards?
Well, maybe you should read the history books. You would learn a thing or two about how Paris was.
That coward. Yes. Okay.
We're doing that kind of thing.
Oh, I see. Napoleon.
Not that.
We skipped right over that.
Yes,
okay. I don't know. I sort of love it, though, because I love messy internet stuff.
Speaking of messy internet stuff, apparently.
What?
The Wizards hired a coach.
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't even know.
The Wizards have a new coach?
Who is it?
Well.
Is that Brian Keefe?
It's not really a new coach. He was their interim.
Yeah.
I can't believe we did a whole show, and that's a real piece of NBA news. And we just
that's it. I'm staring at it right now. Yeah.
The Wizards.
How about that?
Remember them?
Remember the Wizards.
Where do they play?
I think they play in Washington, D.C. They might be playing in Alexandria, Virginia. Who knows?
Wait. No. Sorry. That didn't work. Their plan to get a bunch of certain kinds of people in their fancy cars out to...
Why white people. White.
Thanks for watching Oddball.